talk to me about that day, being somebody who's on it. You were on air at that at that particular moment.
Well, this is really where it kind of gives me chills. Okay. That morning, I recall having President Elson Floyd, who was the president of Western at that time, on my show. There had been some shenanigans at Western after a game, and the students were all wild and, you know, setting things on fire, and, you know, it was all very dramatic. And we were talking about it in a very serious tone, but I was just saying, you know, what are these students so mad about? We're not at war, we're not, you know, nothing's happening. You think of, you know, that kind of stuff back in the 60s with protests and 70s, you know, but what's their problem? And, you know, we were just saying that nothing is happening in the world. Like 2 minutes before this happened. One of my coworkers came in and said, "Did you see that a plane hit the World Trade Center?" And I was like, "That's weird." And I'm sure CBS will have something on that any moment. At that point, no one knew. It just seemed like an accident, a weird accident. You know, when that first plane hit, no one really knew what was going on. But then, of course, finally we did. I have a brother who lives in New York at that time. He was working at Citibank in Queens, which is directly across from the World Trade Center at that time. And so I called him to do a report for me, and he was looking out his office window and just kind of telling me about the smoke coming out, and you know, we were kind of mixing these little tidbits we had from CBS with what he was telling us. Well, while he was on the air with me, the second plane hit. That's when everyone's blood just ran cold. He said, "I have to go, they're evacuating us, I don't know what's going on." And then the whole world changed, literally. Very difficult to report on something like this because you don't want to cause hysteria, and you don't know what's happening, so it was just very hard from this seat to talk about what was going on. So we, of course, tried to take a local angle. We tried to get the superintendents of the various schools on, saying, you know, what are you going to do with the kids? Our country's under attack. Are you going to keep them in school? Are you going to keep them safe there? Are you going to send them home? What's going on?
In the WKZO listening area, I spoke with many of the superintendents at our area schools. They are most concerned about our children. They have beefed up security at the schools. They have implemented their crisis counseling. They are trying, it's pretty much universal among all the schools, that they are trying to make what the children know about what is happening today age appropriate. In the elementary level and middle school level, they are being really careful about what they're telling the children today. With the older children, the high school students, this is a day that will go down in infamy, and they want them to be a part of that. So they are watching TV coverage and listening to TV coverage.
When you think back on it, I mean, you just felt like there was an elephant sitting on your chest. I mean, it was so traumatic and so overwhelming that something like that could happen in our country. You know, after 30 years in radio, what's your most memorable day? I mean, bar none, it's that day, because it was really the day that changed the world.
We're getting a lot of worship services. Many people feel the need to come together in this time of crisis. We ask at AM 590 WKZO that if you have these, please fax them to us.
My loved ones in New York are kind of two minds. They either just don't want to think about it anymore. They're to here. They can't take it anymore. Or it's still so top of mind for them. Even when you're walking around in New York now, and I go quite frequently, you'll hear snippets of conversation, and September 11th comes up. And here in Kalamazoo, you know, it's not a regular topic of conversation, but for them, it still is.